Evening all, I'm with my good friend Chris, known as Chess Explained. So we're here for game 10. Hi Chris.
Yeah, I try for game 10. Three games, yeah, to go, right? So
Yeah.
this is really getting in its final stages.
Yeah.
So any mistake might prove fatal here.
Yeah.
So
Anand playing white kicked off with e4, and we saw the Sicilian defense chosen again by Boris. And
yeah, and I must admit I predicted the Queen's Gambit decline today, so
oh yes,
I was.
oh yeah, my prediction came right. E4. Yes, I predicted E4, didn't I? Yesterday.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So knight f3. A little uncorker now, a spectacular move. Creating loads of excitement. No, just joking. So he didn't go into the... This is Sveshnikov indication. And this is the Anti-Sveshnikov, Bishop b5, the Rossolimo system. Was it Anti-Sveshnikov?
Yeah, one of those lines where white avoids this line. Also, knight c3 is an option if you want to avoid the Sveshnikov. And yeah, it's an interesting choice, and I think a pretty, a bit of a fighting choice in comparison with d4.
Yeah. Because
usually you don't have those really long theoretical lines in this opening. With bishop b5, it's more or less, often at least, it depends on what black plays now, but very often it is kind of a maneuvering game where you have lots of pieces on the board and try to play a long, complicated game. So I was pretty excited here to maybe look forward to a long game. The main issue now is what does black play? He's got a choice of mostly three moves: g6, e6, and d6, and he went e6.
Yep.
And I think the difference is mostly a matter of taste. Maybe g6 is the most solid move, but it's hard to tell. It's really a bit of a taste thing here. What you like more. And now white has quite some principled choice. He can take on c6, what Anand played, or he can try to develop further with ideas of getting a center with c3 and d4. And so white could also castle here or play c3, but he took immediately on c6. This ensures that black really gets this double pawns. If white would castle, black would go knight g7, which is another possibility, of course, for white. It's not a bad move, castles.
Yeah.
It's just different, because now if you would take on c6, black would just recapture with a knight.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make so much sense to do this. So he immediately took on c6, and then followed it up with b3. b takes c3, and then b3.
It doesn't make any sense to capture the other way, does it, here? Because black's d4 control, if he had done the fianchetto, it would make more sense, because the bishop would be on d4. But here, it makes less sense to capture like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it kind of loses the tempo in a way, because you would need to play e5 later at black. You cannot really positionally allow white to play e5 himself in the long run.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want this kind of bind here, so it would lose time. B takes c6 is also natural in terms of controlling the center. And now white again has a choice. He can play quite a number of moves. I think castles, d3 is also possible, but b3 is quite interesting.
It's all about the e5. He's putting more and more pressure on e5. He's sort of taken away a defender of e5, and it's like overprotecting e5 now.
Yeah, it's a bit. White usually in this line at some point plays e4, e5, and he is sort of prepares for the overprotection of this pawn.
Yeah.
To have it all nicely centralized.
Yeah.
And what black would like to do here, and this makes the next move really remarkable. What black's ideal formation here is d6, e5, and most probably even f5 if you get the time.
Yes.
It's just terribly slow.
Yes, I had an unfortunate game in Gibraltar once where the opponent did get a really good centre, the two bishops, and f5, and he was just better. It was a FIDE master. He ground me down. It was an interesting game, but it was a bit of an unfortunate game for me. It showed that, you know, you've really got to know what you're doing with this system, otherwise you can be outplayed as white. It's not as technically sharp as normal Sicilians. It's like a sort of, I don't know, Nimzo Indian ideas.
Yeah, it's very much like a Nimzo Indian with reversed colors. Some ideas are quite similar, but white has, yeah, in a way a bit more time gain here because he's got e4 in one move, and black hasn't even moved the d pawn yet. But this is of course to his advantage. d5 is a move on b3 that black doesn't really want to play. He can play this, but it's very committal, as putting a pawn on d5 would weaken c5 really enormously, kind of like in the Nimzo Indian, but where white would have a couple of extra moves.
Yeah.
And what you would like to do is d6 eat e5, this kind of setup. But if you would go d6 now, just to show, then white would most likely play e4, e5, and prevent e6, e5 from black.
Right. Keep this bishop locked out.
Exactly. You want to sort of kill this bishop.
There's a tactic here. Hold on, there's a tactic.
Yeah.
You can't play that because of queen d4. Can you? Or not?
Sometimes you actually can allow this. I'm thinking at the moment. Maybe here you cannot take on e5, but it's just to show knight e5. It's sometimes funny. Knight e5, queen d4, bishop b2.
Bishop b2.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Queen takes, knight c3.
Ah, queen trap.
And now you're threatening knight c4, but black has got bishop a6, and he can also escape on this route a3 to a6. So this trick is not working. Well, just imagine this kind of position slightly differently, then the queen could be trapped.
I'm not sure about that. Bishop a6 says rook b1 here. Queen goes here, yeah?
Yeah.
Queen f3. And you're hitting f7 and c6. That looks dangerous.
Yeah. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe this is maybe working after all. Yeah. could be. So let's check quickly. Instead of bishop a6, queen a3 immediately, which would be the alternative. Then also queen f3.
Yeah.
Maybe what we're looking at here is just a theoretical line, and we're just reinventing it. Not quite sure. Okay, but just to show what black would like to do is to play d6 and e5.
Yeah.
Sort of getting this center, and what Gelfand now played might be the move that I'm not sure, but this might put b3 out of business completely. He played e5, which is not a novelty. I looked it up briefly in the database. There have been 2 or 3 games in my database with this move, but it was of, I don't know, I think 1 international master and two pretty much unknown players. I'm not quite sure. I don't want to be unjust to those players. I don't remember the names, but they weren't top level grandmasters.
Right.
And the thing is, what can white do now? He more or less needs to take on e5. Everything else, black will get his desired setup with d6 and maybe even f5.
Yeah.
And this looks very aggressive. So what can white do? We cannot play d4, and it's
So
it's somewhat problematic. So I think you need to take really, and yeah. Now we get this sequence which happens in the game.
But hang on, Queen E7 was played in the game. What about Queen? This diagonal's. Oh no, Queen F6. You just play Bishop B2. Pardon me. You just protect it. That's not nice. That's lost for black, isn't it?
Yeah, you can.
Because
D6
not D3.
And also, yeah, you can retreat and
Or knight
cover
c4.
at the same time. Yeah, exactly.
So queen e7, idea to try and get this pawn.
Briefly, queen g5 crossed my mind, but it's just entirely unnecessary to think about this even.
Yeah.
Because queen e7 is just perfectly fine, and not quite sure that this makes much sense anyway. Queen e7 is just a good move. Yeah. Now white doesn't have much else than bishop b2. What should he play? Black just threatens f6 or d6 and getting at the pawn on e4, and of course e5, the knight is just hanging.
Yeah.
So it's a bit similar to those kind of motives in, let's say, the Ruy Lopez exchange or other lines where white captured and took a pawn. So black has this counterplay on the e line to get it back, and now d6.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is really our force. Knight c4 is also the only sensible move. You couldn't take on c6, which maybe we should look at briefly. Not because of queen e4, but of queen c7 just wins the knight.
Ow! Queen c7. Yes. Oh dear, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, queen e4, queen e2 is not really clear. It's not bad for black, but it's not like winning instantly. But this is winning instantly.
Yeah.
So it's all forced really, and they played this rather quickly. So Gelfand played all this pretty much instantly. So, which is really remarkable that he had some really new idea cooked up against this rather rare b3 line.
Yeah.
He couldn't expect this at all, and well, Anand also played rather quickly because simply there are no other moves.
So here d5 was played, but if queen takes, this is worse, isn't it? Because of knight e3.
Yeah, this is a bit risky, maybe even, because white now first and foremost gets into castle.
Yeah.
Castle and rook e1, and then well, you're better developed, and maybe this can get ugly.
Yeah.
The queen and the king on the farm, so
You want to exchange off queens here as well, so
yeah, you need to get rid of the queens and also spoil white's castling rights.
yeah.
And black gets to do this with his moves here. He plays just the d pawn, or the he played d6, then d5, now d4,
Yes.
so 3 d pawn moves.
So
in
that
a row.
stops the use of knight e3 now for the check. So
Exactly.
and it's not very nice to play king f1, maybe even bishop a6, possibly, or no, actually bishop h3 even. This wouldn't be good. Maybe
Yeah, bishop h3, so I think blunders.
f3. Actually, f3. Hang on, f3.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
but you can just develop normally and ask white what is your king doing on f1.
Yeah.
Because
that's nice.
black has pretty easy development. The thing is that this pawn on d4, this pawn formation c5 d4, it looks a bit weakened at first, because you also sort of like the knight on c4, which is very nicely placed. At least
Yeah.
it looks nice. Yeah, it's not sure that it's doing so much, but it looks nice. But the problem is the bishop on b2, which is just looking at this d4 pawn and it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
And white is actually not. He doesn't mind getting rid of the queen. So with queens off, he's got a little bit more time to sort of repair this bishop position.
Yeah.
So they could get rid of the queens now.
Yeah.
And and this is really a remarkable piece of opening preparation, because of course this was prepared in a line here by Gelfand, which is so uncommon. And basically, I think this is more or less, if the white doesn't come up with anything great, which I don't see, then this basically maybe refutes this b3 line. Now black has no problems at all.
Yeah.
And it's really debatable if maybe black can do something, but well, during this broadcast and also in the press conference, both players were pretty sure that it's around equal. So it's hard for white to make any progress in terms of attacking those weakened pawns. And besides from that, the structure is very rigid. The green side is completely frozen. There are no apparent ways to make progress there, and the king side is completely symmetrical. So it's really difficult to make any progress here.
Yeah.
Against a good defense. Yeah. So black just developed.
White definitely doesn't want to take like this. That will give the b file. And he doesn't want to move the knight. He just supported the knight with the d pawn.
Yeah. You need to get your knight on b1 to some place. So it's pretty logical here. I think knight f6.
Yeah,
both sides basically complete their development.
It's a nice square for the knight. That d5.
Yeah, d5 and b4 are potential squares to go to. And
so knight bd2 was played, which it looks optically as though it's a pretty position. I thought so. Black castled queenside. Actually, I think he might be able to just castle kingside as well, but maybe the king's kind of useful on c8 to.
Yeah, I think so. I think long castle is a good idea because you can exactly what you're showing here, king to b7 or so, maybe at some point to help protect those pawns.
Yeah.
And it also very quickly gives support to the d4 pawn, which ensures that white won't be able to play c3 really. Yeah. Because c3 is a move that white might play if he would be able to force black to take on c3. But now if white would go c3, black can just stay and keep this pawn. So yeah, what can you say? It's just a position which is very rigid and where it's difficult to make any progress. I think Anand tried to improve his pieces a bit, and also to make some use of the E line. So rook he1, rook he1.
Yep.
And it's all pretty logical. Bishop e7.
Connecting the rooks.
And king f1. Yep. Yeah, and king f1, making use of this rook.
Yes.
And what can white do? He can try to, maybe attack c5. And this is what Vishy tried to do. But black always has this counter idea: knight d5 to b4.
Yes.
And this is what happened in the game. Rook h2 e8. Okay. And here in the broadcast, it was briefly discussed what would happen if white would take on e6. It's just useful to know these kind of ideas, but it's sort of a fortress kind of move. Sort of remembering the last game. And they both said in the press conference, white can play this to ensure a draw, but it's not the kind of move where you can play for a win.
All right.
It's actually this position actually would be very drawish, but it's completely unnecessary to play it this way with white. You certainly cannot do anything constructive here.
Right.
The reason because it is quite drawish is that it's very hard to open up the position at all for the rooks.
Yes, the rooks. Yes, amazing. Yeah, amazing idea.
But it makes no sense to do this and to risk anything because white certainly cannot win. It's impossible for him to win this game, even if he would win a pawn. He doesn't really want to. Like e6 is not a pawn you want to take. So after all, this idea doesn't make much sense in terms of playing for a win. Yeah. So he played bishop a3, trying to make something of this c5 weakness.
Yeah.
But black has this answer knight d5, and basically that's it.
So knight e4 does coordinate for a moment an attack on c5, but that's parryable. Thankfully for black, well, he's got knight b4. It's sufficient. It blocks the attack, and it attacks c2 as well.
Yeah, and this is the problem. This knight on b4 is really yeah, somewhat annoying piece. You always have this pressure on c2, and white cannot really tolerate this knight for a long time there.
Yeah.
First of all, he protected c2 with rook e2, which also enables him maybe to double.
Yes.
Yeah, at this position here, it's quite interesting because I didn't really expect this next move, but it's really it is played to sort of clarify the position to a draw really. So now Gelfand took on c4.
Yes.
And yeah, okay, this is just in order to, as I said, trade this down to a draw. Black wasn't forced to do this. You could also play some other neutral move, but it's not like you can play for a win with this, with h6 or whatever you could play.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting a slightly useful move that doesn't spoil anything.
Yeah.
It was not necessary, but okay, it's obvious that at this stage he's not really concerned with the drawing with black. So
White certainly can't take with this, because then d3 looks pretty strong, doesn't it? Just liberating, slicing.
yeah, this might be an issue with white's pieces.
Yeah.
Somewhat uncoordinated at the moment.
So,
You also have this optically pretty knight on e4, but it can offsided pretty quickly with f5.
yes.
So we must be careful with opening up the position too much. Then move like f5 would get the knight to g3, where it would have exactly no square. Like h1 you've got a square, but when this is just terrible. So it's this is also why Vishy now really clarified this position.
Yeah, you can't
You
play.
cannot go to d.
Yeah, because of knight
White-
takes
black
c2.
just-
Ouch.
Yeah, black just takes, and you don't want to go to g3, which is really silly after a move like g6.
Yeah.
The knight has absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe rook e1 here, but king d7. It's just
Oh, king d7.
It's just-
Yes, king d7.
but it's just a stupid idea to get the knight to g3, I guess.
Well, and a2's
So-
hanging now as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So he
It's-
plays
it's
bishop
really,
takes b4 to be able to play knight d2 next.
Yeah.
Um,
White needs to be countered here. But a nice little fact here: c takes b4, of course.
well, if f takes e4, gives white a move to play bishop a5 or something. Yeah, attacking the rook.
Yeah, this is very nice for white. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very unpleasant, because there'll be a very nasty pin, wouldn't there? If take
Yeah, this might be winning already,
here rook here is nasty.
and black cannot move anything, and white is just a pawn up.
Yeah,
In essence, the 3 against 2.
yeah,
So he took on b4 and offered a draw. Actually, c takes b4 was a draw offer, but Anand declined.
so
He
knight.
thought that maybe he has a little something here,
Yeah,
but he pretty much came to realize that it is not so much. There was a bishop b6 now. Yeah. It's what can you say? It's just nothing. Takes on e8 and knight b3 to provoke c5, and black just played this, and now it's really a blocked out position.
a3 looks as though it could be dangerous for c5, but here they actually agreed a draw, and I did check with an engine after just to reassure myself black has no issues. So let's say, okay, this was the final position when they agreed a draw, but if takes, I think the king shows it's useful here with king b6. I think king b6. And if rook a5, there's a technical move that black can play here. I don't know if you've seen this analysis before, but black.
No, a6 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So just to allow that pawn to drop.
This is
So
this looks like the exact move.
and then bishop b4, and you can park the bishop now on c3, and you've got that very dangerous a pawn. So this, and you're also pointing at e1 for a moment. So this would be quite dangerous for white if he went in for this. Not here. Sorry, he would have to move the king if there. But black would be doing well because of that a pawn, I think, in this position.
Yeah, white's extra pawn here in this position is c2, which is pretty much useless.
Yeah.
So this is very dangerous, maybe, because the c3 bishop controls the promotion square already, and this can get ugly quickly.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good expression. Get ugly quick. You're right. So I mean, I just thought there was a bit of danger for that. I mean, and people weren't commenting as usual. If you check though, yeah, it's no problem. If black has the resources like a6, there's no problem again. Just sacking the pawn. If he does try and hold on to the pawn, he might be in trouble with king b6 like this. I mean, there might be check, and then check might be dangerous. You don't want all that. You don't want to get into that, because then, you know, rook b7 next.
Yeah, this might be might be annoying still.
Might be winning.
Yeah, but a6 is one idea.
Yeah.
I also thought just rook c8 should be okay as well, shouldn't it?
c8. That's an easy one.
And then just sort of threatening a6. If white plays check now, rook b5 check. Maybe just king a6, but this is a bit awkward. You really don't want to do this. Yeah, so they're sort of tied up now.
Yeah, the king's restricted there.
Pawn. Maybe you can go rook c6 to b6 and but knight c5 then just check now. No, this is annoying. So maybe a6 is maybe just better.
Yeah.
You're right. So it's better to play this threatening king b6, and yeah, this is better. So what do we learn about this game? That that black was really Gelfand was really terribly well prepared, even for this rare line.
Yeah,
b3.
He was,
and he sort of took away this white game with not much effort. And yeah, what can you do? It's not a sparkling game, but very important. Just for the standings, as Anand had in this remaining 3 games, 3 white games, and now 1 white game was sort of drifted away without any huge chances to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're down to 2 games left, so it's a complete mini match now. 2 games.
Should we just quickly overview and summary the game? So it was a Sicilian anti-Sicilian Sveshnikov. So double pawns and a very quick pawn sacrifice from black here, which kind of led to the queens coming off quickly, unfortunately for the spectators, because of this d5 d4 preventing any knight e3s. Once the queens came off, black resourcefully castled queenside to let his king assist if needed in the protection of the pawns, which, as we saw in some of the variations, became evident as very useful. Black was able to resourcefully defend c5, which is his only issue in the position, by this knight b4, which is also a pain for white. Now white's pawns became doubled as well. The white knight couldn't go to g3, that would be asking for trouble, so instead we got more exchanges here, more simplification, with still the issue of c5 now being transformed into this a3 break, which doesn't seem to be anything much if black plays accurately. So, okay, that was game 10 in a nutshell. Right, I hope everyone on YouTube got something out of that. It's just securing a draw at a very high level of chess. Maybe it's something we can use as black against, if we play the Sveshnikov and someone plays it. It's an interesting way of equalising with black. Maybe. Yeah,
this e5 move I think has I didn't put much time into this, but it looks like very decent for black, and maybe will somewhat confuse white players who wanted to play this b3 line. It's a sideline, but it's nice to have such an early new move to play, and sort of as Vishy was the one he wanted to play a surprise with b3, and then you get this e5 instantly. So it's really sort of moral victory for Gelfand this game.
Mm.
So yeah, we can be curious. It's just 2 games left. I think those 2 games will be played on Saturday and Monday, and after this maybe tie breaks. Yeah, so we're getting close to tie breaks.
Yeah. Okay, it's pretty hot here in the UK. It's hot in Germany as well at the moment. It's very, very hot. It's one of record-breaking hot day, I think, of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very hot here as well, at least where I'm staying. So.
And it's your birthday. Happy birthday! I hope everyone on YouTube wishes you a happy birthday. Just explained.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. I already had a nice dinner and was ready now to do this short video. It's not such an exhausting game to do commentary on. So yeah, and I will also return now to my balcony here to enjoy some of the weather. So thanks for watching, and yeah, I guess we'll be on again on Saturday to do game 11, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.